recently come to realize that in this day and age, owning a house is for chumps. And the reason I say that is because everything's different. Back in the day, you save your money, you buy a house, you got a place to live for the rest of your life, and you can build equity. When you die or near death or just want to get out of there, you sell this stinking house, and because of inflation, it went up in value, just like everything else, right? But in this day and age, houses aren't really considered a place to live so much anymore for most people. It's more about like equity and the ability to borrow against your house, and what your house is worth and what your house is going to be worth. And it becomes more about what your house is, house is worth and what it's going to be worth. And I'm saying in this day and age, buying a house in most cases for most people is a shitty investment. Okay, the reason I say having a house is a shitty investment is because it costs a shitload of money to buy a house, right? And once you buy the house, you're never done paying for it. You know, people pay taxes, they pay insurance, they pay maintenance, they pay for new roof. And to be honest, you have to have, like, again, a shitload of money in this day and age to get a piece of shit house in a neighborhood. I mean, honestly, I think personally, it's not the fucking house. I think it's the neighborhood. I think it's where you buy the house, you know? And then you have a chance of it increasing in value. But, as I started to say, but if you own a house in a good neighborhood, a desirable neighborhood, the taxes are through the roof. I mean, people pay $10,000, $20,000 a year in taxes for bullshit houses, right? So that's why it's like, you buy the house, but you're never done paying for it. And you're locked in for like decades, 10, 20, 30 years, same house. I mean, if you can buy a house, like a lot of these TV shows guys do, they buy the house, they put $10,000 in and they flip it, right? And they make money that way, which is good because you spend $10,000 on the house, you sell it for like, I don't know, where you make, say, $40,000, $50,000 profits. All right, that's a business, you know. People want to walk into a nice, clean house, right? But as an individual, a person, you buy the house, you live in the house, 30 years, you're stuck there, you're fixing the fucking roof, you're mowing the lawn, you're trimming the bushes, you're putting in new steps, painting, all that bullshit you got to work on. I say if you own an apartment, not even if you own it, if you live in an apartment, right? You might be able to save more money, you know, because this is how they get you. They go buy a house. It's equity. You'll have money when you die. Who the fuck needs money when you die anyway, right? That pass on to your kids, right? Maybe you could just fucking save money, right? So you do that. The American dream, right? You buy the house, you own it for 30 years, and then it's worth more money when you die. But if you figure it out, right? If you sit down and figure it out, right? You buy a house for $200,000, and it's a piece of shit house because that's all you can get for $200,000 in this day and age, right? You fix it up, put your money into it, put like, say it's on the cheap, $15,000, $20,000, right? $220,000, right? And every year you pay, say, I'll make it cheap, $10,000 a year in taxes, right? And you live there 30 years, right? And forget insurance and maintenance and all the other bullshit you gotta do, because now you're heating the whole fucking house, and you're paying for electricity on the whole house, and, you know, just houses have expenses, right? So you're living there 30 years, forget even that, 30 years, $10,000 a year, that's, wow, is that like $300,000? So like I said, 30 years living there, 30 years, $10,000 a year in taxes, that's $300,000 you paid in taxes. So automatically, if you sell the house and the break even just so what you paid on taxes and mortgage interest, now it's got to be worth $500,000. Yeah, like I just said, in order to break even on your house, 30 years later, it's got to be worth at least $500,000. And I don't know about that, because here's what's going on. people are working, and everything's going up. Cost of living, cost of food, cost of electricity, cost of phones and cable TV, pretty much all the major bills. Medical, right? Medical. So, but are the salaries going up? Are the jobs getting better? No. That's why we're in a recession, right? Because everything goes up because of inflation, but the salaries, the money that people make, don't go up. So, the final insult would be, you're working 30 years, you got the same, maybe good job, most likely shitty job, right? You got your house mostly paid off, right? Then you lose your shitty job, right? Let's say you didn't finish the mortgage. Guess who gets all your shit after paying for it all those years? Either the bank. If the bank don't get it, taxes. The government gets it. Either way, you work 30 years on a fucking bullshit house, busting your balls, mowing the lawn, trimming the hedges, chopping down trees, and what'd you get? What are you? You're homeless. That's why, honestly, I think the only reason it's worth buying a house in this day and age is, A, you can fucking afford it, you got a lot of money, and you don't give a shit about, you like having houses, and you don't give a shit about mowing lawns and painting shit and fixing shit and stuff like that. It's your thing, right? The other reason is, I would do it. The only reason I would buy a house, actually, is if, like an investment. I'd fucking rent that motherfucker out, and I'd make money off of it. And this way every month I'd have money, I'd actually make money instead of waiting 30 years. Even if I only made like a couple of $100 a month, money in my pocket, not waiting 30 years to fucking break even. Or should I say, not waiting 30 years to hopefully break even. Oh, and here's one gem I forgot, right? So let's say you live in your house 30 years, you paid off the mortgage and shit like that, right? And you die, and your house goes to your kids, right? Well, what happens to them immediately? All of a sudden they're stuck with a fucking house that they got to pay taxes on and stuff like that. If they're living near the edge, they might lose it anyway. So what do? They never keep it, they sell it. So it's gone anyway.